Hello again, friends, and welcome to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Movies podcast. I am your host, the Sultan of Storytelling, Alex Khalil, and today we have another review, and this time it is about the 2001 movie. This is the second movie in a row from 2001.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good year, apparently, good vintage. It is the Atlantis, the Lost Empire, and to join me in talking about it is the heart of Atlantis himself, Mr. Jesse Frawley.
Hello.
All right. So, Jesse, how are you doing?
Doing okay.
Okay. Do you want to just get right to the review?
Yeah, let's give it a shot. I think everybody knows this story
All right,
well enough.
Well, do you want to give us the synopsis?
Sure. I mean, so this is a pretty classic story in my humble opinion. We've got the search for the lost city of Atlantis. Yeah, we're just going to pull up the actual synopsis here. One sec. Okay. A massive tidal wave triggered by a distant explosion threatens to drown the island kingdom of Atlantis. In the midst of an evacuation from the capital city, the Queen of Atlantis is caught by a strange hypnotic blue light and lifted up into the heart of Atlantis, a powerful crystal protecting the city. The crystal consumes her and creates a dome barrier that protects the city's innermost district. She leaves behind a young daughter, Princess Kida, as the island sinks beneath the ocean. Several thousand years later, in 1914, Milo Thatch, voiced by Michael J. Fox, and Kida is Cree Summer, it says here, a cartographer and linguist at the Smithsonian Institution, who is marginalized for his research on Atlantis, believes that he has found the Shepherd's Journal, an ancient manuscript allegedly containing directions to the Lost Island. After his proposal to search for the journal is rejected by the museum board, a mysterious woman, Helga Sinclair, introduces Milo to Preston B. Whitmore, an eccentric millionaire. Whitmore has already funded a successful effort to retrieve the journal as repayment of a debt to Milo's grandfather and recruits Milo to lead an expedition to Atlantis as soon as he deciphers it. The expedition departs with a team of specialists led by Commander Rourke, who also led the journal recovery expedition. The crew includes Vinny, a demolitions expert, Mole, a geologist, Dr. Sweet, a medical officer, Audrey, a mechanic, Mrs. Packard, a radio operator, and Cookie, a mess cook. They set out in the Ulysses, a massive submarine, but are soon attacked by the monstrous Leviathan, a robotic lobster-like creature that guards Atlantis' entrance. The Ulysses is destroyed, but Milo, Rourke, and part of the crew escape and make their way to a cavern described in the journal as the entrance to Atlantis. After traveling through a network of caves and a dormant volcano, the team reaches Atlantis. They are greeted by Kida, who, despite her age, resembles a young woman, and discover that the Atlantean language is the basis of many existing languages, which allows the Atlanteans to understand English.
Convenient.
Deus Mox Atlantis. Kida enlists Milo's aid in deciphering Atlantean writing, long forgotten by the natives. By swimming deep within the city's submerged ruins and translating underwater murals, Milo helps Kida uncover the nature of the heart of Atlantis. It supplies the Atlanteans with power and longevity through the crystals worn around their necks. He is surprised that this is not mentioned in the journal, but upon examination realizes a page is missing. Returning to the surface with Kida, Milo discovers Rourke has the missing page. Rourke and the crew betray Milo, intending to bring the crystal to the surface and sell it. Lost my place. There it is. Rourke mortally wounds the king of Atlantis while trying to extract information about the crystal's location, but finds its location for himself, hidden beneath the king's throne room. The crystal detects a threat and merges with Kida. Rourke and the mercenaries lock Kida in a crate and prepare to leave the city, knowing that when the crystal is gone, the Atlanteans will die. Milo berates his friends for betraying their consciences, and ultimately convinces them to leave Rourke and remain in Atlantis. The king explains to Milo that the crystal has developed a consciousness. It will find a royal host when Atlantis is in danger. As he dies, he gives his crystal to Milo, telling him to save Atlantis and Kida. Encouraged by Sweet, Milo rallies the crew and the Atlanteans to stop Rourke. In a battle inside the volcano, great place for a battle,
Yeah, great.
Helga and the other mercenaries are defeated, including Rourke, killed when Milo slashes his arm with a crystal shard.
One of the more brutal Disney deaths of all time.
Oh yeah, that was
Like-
real interesting to
Yeah.
see as a kid.
I would put it up there with Clayton dying by hanging in
God.
Tarzan.
Yeah, except we got like a real view of this one. I mean,
Right.
Clayton, you
He
see
cut
a shadow.
him with glass. It's like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Good God.
Oh.
As Milo and the others fly the crystal back to the city, the volcano erupts with lava flowing towards the city. Kida, in her crystal form, rises into the air and creates a protective shield. The lava breaks away harmlessly, showing a restored Atlantis, and the crystal returns Kida to Milo. The surviving crew members return to the surface and promise to keep the discovery of Atlantis a secret. Milo, in love with Kida, stays behind to help her rebuild the lost empire.
Okay. So there is the briefest
Right.
of explanations about the plot. So the biggest thing to take away from this movie was the fact that this movie was actually a flop.
Yeah.
Like, this movie did not deliver well for Disney. And before we get to the pluses and minuses of the movie, why do you think this film flopped?
I think that it did not have a prior fan base, for lack of a better word. I mean, you have movies like Tarzan. Everybody knows Tarzan. You have movies like...
But it's Atlantis. People know it. The story of Atlantis, I feel like.
Yeah. And I mean, it shouldn't have been a flop. People should have seen it as popular as everything else. But
my theory is that I think the movie just came out like 10 years too early.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it came out like right in like 2011 or something, or even like close to the, a little bit later in the years, I think it would have done a lot better. I don't know. I just think that like at that time period, Disney was not in a good place in 2001.
Uh-huh.
Like, because this was around the time that Pixar and DreamWorks were taking over and shifting animation movies into deeper and more complex movies. And I feel like this movie, while very good, is very, very simple. Sure. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I think that this was just bad timing for the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if someone else had taken the story and just done it later, I think it would have worked out a little bit differently.
Perhaps, yes.
All right, so let's talk about what we liked about the film.
Right.
So, what was one of your things?
So, like I was sort of saying in the beginning there, it felt like a really classic piece of storytelling. You've got this, at first, deep sea adventure, searching for a lost city.
Almost like 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, really. And I mean, back then, so much of the appeal came to me just through the imagery. I mean, I loved the submarine.
I love the very steampunk look of thing. It's so cool.
Oh, I love the steampunk.
I agree. There's some great animations, and like the scale of the city, like the city itself looks great, like the Atlantis stuff, and like all their technology looks very cool and interesting, and it's got its own characteristics. I agree. Like the submarine's fantastic, and it's like, man, I almost wish they spent more time with the submarine stuff.
Agreed.
Because like it's like they immediately go in the sub, and it's like right away into like, oh, it's destroyed.
Yeah, that's my favorite sequence of the movie is when the Leviathan
the Leviathan scene is fantastic.
Yeah, I wish there was
more to it. Design of the Leviathan's great. The build-up is great.
Oh my god.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great moment of tension when they're going through and they're discovering all the wreckage, and
that was cool. And like the line about like there's ships from every every culture down here. It's like that was really cool. Really fantastic. Cool attention. The characters are great too. A lot of great characters. Milo is kind of uninteresting. He's very generic, and I would say like when he's talking about like the history and the discovery and stuff like that, it's interesting. But when he's trying to be the action hero at the end, you don't buy it.
No, I mean the best characters are all in the supporting cast.
Vinny is great.
Oh,
Dr. Sweet's great. Audrey is fun.
Love Audrey.
I'll be honest. One thing. I don't really like Mole that much.
Really? Yeah.
Because here's the thing. There's so much beautiful animation, but like when it does like the slapstick comedy stuff, the animation quality dips significantly lower. And Mole especially, like his animation just goes very cartoony for me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, yeah, like I want them to keep this beautiful animation all the time and not dumb it down for when it's gonna be slapsticky.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Like the comedy is really good when it's character comedy. Like the story, like when they talk about their stories about like how everyone got started, like Vinny's story and Audrey's story, and like that's all great. And then they get to Mole and it's like, no, you don't want to know. And like, don't tell me. Like you told me, and I didn't want to know. It's like
true.
that was great. Yeah. And I'm very happy never knowing Mole's story.
Yeah.
So like again, when Mole's working with other characters, he's great. But as himself, it's okay.
I mean, I agree. He's my least favorite of like the group. I mean, maybe besides. No, I mean, I like Milo more, but like we say, he's just kind of a vanilla guy.
When he's being the smart character that knows his way around the history and culture of Atlantis, it's great. When he's trying to be the action hero at the end, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, so I mean, I like that Mole is there. I don't need any more of him. Could even use less, but I don't know.
Vinny was great. We need more Vinny.
Oh, definitely. Trade Mole for Vinny.
Just more Vinny. And Dr. Sweet, because Sweet was great. One of my favorite scenes, and I feel like it's a very underrated scene in this movie, because everyone talks about the Leviathan scene and this and that. It's the scene where Whitmore is telling Milo about his grandfather and about like the bet, which the whole build up to like how like the bet, you know, like, I'll kiss you full in the mouth if you find that. Imagine my displeasure when we actually did find it. Like that was great. And then he has this moment where he you know, like, oh, I know your grandfather's dead, but I keep my promises, and like he yells at a picture of Fetch, and like it takes it really quietly and like lets you know like this character really did care about Milo's grandfather. They were really good friends, and like he mourns that not only is he gone, but his reputation was tarnished by people because of his belief in Atlantis.
Right.
And it's just like you watch this and it's like, holy crap, like where did this moment come from in Atlantis?
Yeah, I really wish that instead of getting that, you know, direct to DVD sequel that they made, we got a prequel, because I'd love to see the story.
Yeah, show us with Whitmore and Thaddeus.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah, and Audrey's dad, who apparently was on the original crew.
Yeah,
like,
you get a younger Commander Rourke. I mean, I guess they would have had to find somebody else to voice him, but still,
I don't know.
I think that would have been cool.
By the way, did you know that it was really supposed to be a TV series?
Oh, okay.
And like the movie was supposed to be like kind of like the introduction to the TV show that never took place because this movie didn't do well.
That makes sense.
Yes. So,
I don't know how that would have turned out. Whatever.
Okay, and also I gotta say the best scene in the entire movie is the scene with Kida merging with the heart of Atlantis.
Oh yeah.
Like from an animation standpoint, fantastic. They let the scene breathe. It's beautifully animated, and like the soundtrack, or the what's the word I'm looking for? Music, or whatever. The background music that goes along with the scene is just incredible.
Agreed. It had a phenomenal soundtrack, which is not unusual for a Disney movie, or
right. But it's nice that piece of music really stands out as like just really powerful.
Yeah, they nailed it.
And also I like the ending. The ending was kind of clever and like unique. Like the flying vehicles and everything like that was cool. And actually like a cool thing is like the main characters fall in love, but they don't kiss or anything like that. You know, like it's like lets the relationship grow. And it's like, okay, that's cool. What didn't you like about the movie?
Okay, so primarily it came from just wishing there was more of certain things.
That's one thing I noticed when I watched the movie was like, there's like the scene with Whitmore talking to Milo is they let it breathe. The scene where Kida merged with the Heart of Atlantis, that scene breathed. But like, there's a lot of scenes where they just rush through it, and like this whole movie's only like an hour and a half, and it flies by.
Yeah, if it was a 2-hour movie, it
would
near perfect.
Because like, you know, they arrive in the city and it's like immediately like, oh, no time to look around and get used to things. Milo, you're immediately got to meet with, you know, and further the plot.
Yeah,
and like even like the exploring the getting to Atlantis, the exploring it, like it feels like it's just like over and done with in 10 seconds.
Right. I really wish we had more of the submarine, more of them exploring Atlantean culture. And I mean, they touched on it, right? They touched
very
on
briefly,
that, but it just wasn't enough. I don't think.
Like they don't even talk about like what actually causes the downfall of Atlantis, which like it's buried in there, but like basically the king tried to use it as a weapon of war.
Yeah.
And it backfired and destroyed the city. And it's like they don't really even like they leave it pretty vague. You can put it together, but like hell, as a kid, I didn't get that until I watched it later.
Yeah, the whole sequence in the beginning was cool, and I like the mystery that is
Yeah, I wish they
there.
played more about the mystery.
Yeah,
It really is like, oh, what caused it to, and like Keita talks about like, oh, the gods were jealous of us, so they banished us to the bottom of the ocean,
right.
and it's like, okay, that's cool, but then like the king reveals, like, how much better would it be if like they built up like the mystery and like the king had to reveal to his daughter that it was his fault.
Yeah, I hear this like actual bit of folklore about Atlantis saying something about Atlanteans like invading the realm of the gods.
Right? Yeah, there's
And I
a whole
think,
bunch of
like,
letters and stuff like
man, you guys could have done something with
that.
that.
We could have got
that would have been cool.
We could have got the Hercules crossover.
Yeah, like what if that whole sequence in the beginning was them when we see them fleeing the tidal wave.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like, what if that was them retreating from a failed battle with the gods or something? Like,
I think what it's supposed to be is like it's like a failed experiment, like of using the heart of Atlantis as a weapon.
Even that. I mean,
right? But again,
I like the mystery, but
do a like when they reveal like the king tells the story about like what happened. We just see the opening credit again.
Yeah,
we don't see anything new with like him like seeing how they use the heart of Atlantis. So it's kind of disappointing.
That was
over, and also like mixed tones throughout the movie. Like it's supposed to be like this like big epic adventure movie, but also like, oh, we're also a kids movie too. Like it didn't go full into it.
That's true. I appreciated then and now the more mature general tone it had, but
mature tone. Like I was watching this with my wife, and like when like the ship blows up, she's like, "Oh, there's a couple hundred people dead." It's like, and they just breeze over that.
Yeah, you see them getting killed, like when the mini subs are destroyed, and you see doors shutting before everybody can get through.
Right, and it's like, geez, they just breeze over that whole thing.
Like, you don't see that in most of these.
I think at the time when this came out, it had the highest body count for a Disney movie.
Right. I mean it and Mulan were
Mulan. Yeah,
kind of setting the pace with that, and I appreciated it.
Yeah. Okay, but the biggest problem I have with this movie, is Rourke.
Really?
He is. It's the cliched villain of all time.
Okay.
It's like, why are they doing this? Why are they trying to steal this stuff from the Atlanteans? Oh, they want money. Motherfucker, you're discovering Atlantis. You're gonna get rich.
Yeah. I feel that.
It's like it was, and it's just so disappointing because it's like the Rourke character was fine, and like I kind of like this, like he looked at Milo kind of like a like he had a turd hanging from his mouth. She's like, oh, this kid's gonna help us out.
Right.
But like the scene of like after the submarine, and like he's like, oh, all of our hopes rest with you, Milo, in that little book. It was like, okay, like he trusts Milo, but I don't know, I hated the reveal about like, oh, they're all just doing it for money, and like it, and then like Milo reminds them about like how much they care about each other, and like then they turn it like, come on, it was very, very early 2000s Disney.
Sure.
So
that's fair. And the only other thing I can think of that maybe I misheard something, but I want to address it while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
There was a scene where Milo and Keita are talking, and he finds out how old she is.
Yes.
Right? So I thought he made a comment saying like, oh, but for you to have been there then, that would make you like 80, 90, 100 years old. And she's like, yes. And he goes, oh, wow, well, looking good. And I'm like, no, dude, she's like 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like, no, like not a couple hundred. It's like, it's a couple thousand.
They're legitimately immortal, dude.
Yeah. And it's like, like, I don't know. I don't remember when Plato was around, but it was.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't know what you're talking about. 100 years old. No, she is definitely way older than that.
Yeah. So
oh well.
Again, maybe they just didn't want to be creepy of like, oh my god, you're a couple thousand years old. They didn't because then it's like maybe that'd be too creepy for people to handle. I don't fucking know.
Sure.
Who knows? So overall,
yes,
does this movie nearly 20 years later hold up?
I think it does. I think it holds up as well as really most of them, like Tarzan, Mulan, and I mean, I would even argue that those hold up better than most. But
yeah, I agree. Like this movie did not deserve the rotten reviews it got when it came out.
Screw that.
And the most bizarre thing was like people were mad that it wasn't a musical.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just
where was the room for a musical?
Yeah, and it's I appreciate Disney trying to branch out and do something differently. I just think that this was a too big of a step
Yeah.
in one direction, and like I think it scared off some of its core audience. Maybe I don't know, but I don't think this is a terrible movie. I think this is there are plenty of bad Disney movies, especially from this era.
Yeah.
And even from, like some back, in the golden age of Disney, as people like to call it. But like, I don't think this is a bad movie. I think this is a very good movie. It holds up remarkably well.
Yeah.
I'm
still waiting for a live action remake too.
Yeah, but I don't think you can do the scale. But like, it is a shame that like this movie is one of the few that actually touches upon Atlantis, and like we don't get a lot of Atlantis movie, which is bizarre because it's such a great idea.
God, it really is. There's no reason not to explore that more. And we're getting remakes of all these movies that are really just fine the way they are. I mean, you don't need
to talking about the Disney remakes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need another Lion King, especially when it's just another animated
let's wrap this up, and then we'll discuss the. And okay, so any last thoughts on Atlantis before we get into remake territory?
Nope. I like the movie.
I like the movie as well. It's not great, but I agree that like it's a cult classic. It's a good movie, and I don't understand. I put this up there with like Treasure Planet for a movie that like got unnecessary hate for no other reason than I think it just tried to do something too different at a period when people weren't ready for that.
Yeah,
maybe. Okay, so now let's talk about the Disney remake thing because you touched upon it.
Yes.
Because like right now, as of recording this, like we've had Dumbo, we've had a Lion King, and has any of them been good? Like, have there been any remakes where like you're like, oh my god, that was a great remake, and I'm so glad they did that?
No.
The problem is, and this is my whole thing. It's like people ask me like, well, how do you feel about remakes? Because like I'm a huge Marvel fan, so people were asking me like, well, how would you feel if they rebooted Marvel? I'm like, well, if they do something different, I'm all for it.
Sure.
Like that's why with the Spider-Man movies, like I like the Sam Raimi ones. I like the Andrew Garfield ones because, hey, it was slightly different.
Yeah.
And I like the Tom Holland ones because it was slightly different.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a shot-for-shot remake of the same exact movie and you bring something different to the table and unique and interesting, go for it. I'm all for remakes.
Yeah. And I'm using Beauty and the Beast for an example here. There were so many scenes in that where if they weren't doing the shot-for-shot remake, they were dumbing stuff down considerably.
They dumbed down an animated movie into a live-action movie.
Yeah.
It's usually the other way around.
Exactly. I mean, they haven't done anything better. They've only ever been able to maybe do something as good as before.
I would mean that. Maybe the Jungle Book's the one that I hear a lot of people say is probably the best one.
That one's pretty good. Not Mowgli Legend of the Jungle. That's for sure. I saw that one recently, and I really wish I hadn't.
Talking about the Beauty and the Beast, like the thing that pissed me off the most about that was the fact that like was the all CG Beast. It's like just do some kind of like live action version of it, something. It's like that's my biggest thing is like they're slapping CGI and stuff. Like the Lion King, it's like, oh, it's live action. No, it's real. Yeah. If you want here, what's something that would have been interesting for the Lion King? Do an animated one where like it's photorealistic,
yes,
but maybe have them not talk.
Yeah,
like have it be like an actual like almost like a nature documentary.
Yeah, I
don't think it would work, but it'd be like, hey, try.
You know what? I'd also be interested in seeing a movie of the Lion King done the way it is on stage, almost. Like, why not? Honestly.
I actually, you know what?
I'm not saying it would be perfect. No. But, I mean, I've seen the Lion King like at the Wharton Center. And it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it is. Okay, and the one that bothered me like was Aladdin.
Yeah,
like I thought, like I loved Aladdin. I thought this could work, but like it didn't. And the scary thing was, if you watch it, like they hint at like doing almost like a Bollywood style movie, and it's like, motherfucker, if you did a Bollywood Aladdin, it would have worked.
Right.
Lean in, like that's the thing. Like they're trying to make it too realistic. It's like, no, lean into it being kind of goofy and like be over the top and exaggerated because that's what we want from Disney.
Exactly. I backtracking a little bit, but like I have had a couple of conversations with people about CGI versus making something
live
with
action.
Actual
or practical effects.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's a project and a half to create something like the Beast, or if they had done it for Cats, to actually dress people up like that. I mean, if you listen to stories about Jim Carrey as the Grinch, I mean, he almost quit the movie because of how rigorous and horrifying that process was.
No,
putting the costume on.
But here's my thing: is like, you should not use CGI as a replacement for putting effort into things.
Right.
You need to use CGI to enhance things.
Yes.
It shouldn't be like, well, we could do it practically, but it's much more easy if we just computer it. No, use the practical stuff and then like use CGI to enhance it and make it look better.
Yeah, and I mean CGI doesn't always look good anyway.
Right.
Very often.
But like the best CGI, like the reason Lord of the Rings works so well is because like they used so much practical effects and then just used CGI to highlight and make things look better and more crisp.
Yeah,
but
I'd like to see more of that.
Exactly, and that's one reason why I hated The Hobbit was because they just leaned right into CGI. It didn't do anything practically. And it's like, well, like if you're not gonna try, why should I?
Right.
But speaking of remakes, like the newest one is the Mulan movie, which might work. That's the one I'm like, this with a live action remake could work.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how Mulan turns out.
Yes.
I mean, I'm as disappointed as anyone in the things that are being left out. But when I heard that it was because it's being true to the actual legend, that's pretty cool.
I'm disappointed because I actually really like the songs in Mulan.
Oh,
there's Make a Man Out of You. I mean, come on, everyone loves that song.
I think I feel like if they did make it more accurately to the animated Mulan, we would have been disappointed for the same reasons we have been with like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Dumbo and everything.
Oh yeah, I didn't even watch Dumbo. I had no interest in that.
Neither did I. I didn't even see Aladdin actually.
Aladdin was it's okay. It's not great. I will say the best parts of that movie is the three leads are great. Like especially when Will Smith is being Will Smith, he's great.
Sure.
When he tries to be Robin Williams doing Will Smith doing Robin Williams. Not so good.
No one should try that.
No, and actually, like I said, maybe we'll talk about that movie, but maybe not because I don't really want to discuss like it'd be like a 5-minute video. Like, okay, this is good. This rest of it's crap.
Yeah.
But also like last thing, the Maleficent movies, terrible. You take one of the greatest Disney villains of all time. Everyone agrees Maleficent's amazing as a villain.
Yeah. And
you make her the anti-hero. And you're like, oh no, she's just misunderstood. No, she's a fucking villain.
Right. If they work as a villain, let them stay a villain.
And maybe that's we were just talking about like doing something different with the character. Like, and I give him credit for doing something different, but like you literally took the main villain and made it the hero. And it's like, and like in the movie, she poisons a child. Like she curses a child. Like
this is not a good thing to do.
It's just one of the things. Like again, and I'm contradicting myself because I'm like, well, do something different. Don't just do the same thing over. But don't do something completely stupid. Yeah, that makes no sense.
Gotta make a change. Make it a good change. Make it.
Yeah, there you go. Make it a good change.
Which is also subjective.
I know. And again, people seem to like the Maleficent movies, so more power to you. I don't care for them, but then again, I still got the original thing, so who cares?
Yeah.
All right. Anything to finish up before we go on to our next topic?
I just really hope they do a live action Atlantis.
I would just any kind of Atlantis movie be welcomed, but make it steampunk. That's the best. That's
gotta be steampunk.
It's great. Okay. I didn't know what movie to pick for the next week's. However, a friend of mine has challenged us to review a movie.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it is on Netflix. So you want The Girl on the Third Floor.
Haven't heard of it.
It's the biggest reason he wants us to watch it because me and him are both wrestling fans, and CM Punk, the former pro wrestler, is in it.
Oh my!
And I haven't heard anything really positive about the movie. I haven't heard anything really negative about the movie. I just heard it's there.
Okay.
So we're gonna try that out. So next recording, not week, whenever we get to it, is Girl on the Third Floor. It's a very recent movie, only last year, and it's on Netflix. So
we'll see.
Oh man, I might be regretting this one, but
I'm already regretting it.
Oh yeah. All right. So until next week, folks, or next time we record, whenever it is, take care. Jesse, anything to add?
No, sir.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.